Upline. In the multi-level marketing business model, an upline is the person who recruited a distributor into the organization, sometimes known as a sponsor. The people above her in the organization are the upline. An MLM distributor's upline receives compensation based on her sales as well as their own. Today we get to hear from Dejira and hear about everything that she dealt with from her uplines while in LTD. Well, hey, Dejira, how are you? Thank you so much for joining me today. I know last time we connected, you kind of told me a bit of your story, and I was like, oh, okay, girl. Well, but it's good to speak to you and sit down to you today. So I guess introduce yourself.
My name is Dejira. I'm currently living in Madison, Wisconsin. Um, I don't know. What do you want to know?
No, that's fine. Whatever you want to share. Um, I know we obviously connected over LTD and Amway and just our experiences while being in. So I guess let's just deep dive right into it. At what point, when did you actually get sponsored? Start from the very beginning. What made you want to get in?
So I first met my upline earlier at towards the end of 2021. One of my coworkers slash manager, she was telling me about actually, she didn't tell me anything about it. She was telling somebody else about me, and that somebody else came in, who ended up being the person who I directly went to about everything. So my upline, she came into our store one day and she was just like, "Oh my gosh, I've heard so much about you." I didn't know anything about her. I'm like, "Who is this lady? Why is she attacking me with hugs?" She said that she wanted to set up a meeting with me, and I didn't know what we were setting up a meeting for or anything like that, but she had a free spirit. She had a lot of energy and stuff, and I was like, why not? I don't know what this about, but why not? She seems like a awesome personality. So we met, we had the meeting shortly after that, I think like the next day or a few days after. And she still didn't tell me anything about what it is that she does or what she wanted me to do or anything like that. She just took this as an opportunity to get to know me and bond with me, I guess. So I still have no idea what's going on. And she says, "Oh, I want you to meet somebody else." And I'm like, I just met you. I don't even know you. So I meet my her sponsor, I think, my upline, another one of my uplines, whose name is. So I met with, and he and I bonded over the fact that we have many, many siblings. So I have 9 younger siblings, and he had that amount as well. Um, so they still didn't really tell me about the business at all at this point in time, but they were like, "I have this book that you might be interested in. Would you be willing to read it? You can read it, you cannot read it, but I want to give it to you just in case and see if this is something that you vibe with, that is interesting to you." So I don't remember initially what book it was, but I really liked the book. I think it was Business of the 21st Century.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the book, and I resonated with it a lot with me not wanting to work for somebody else for the rest of my life. Um, but that isn't even why I decided to join the business. Um, so I really just liked the personalities of the people that I had met, and I wasn't interested in creating a business of my own. I wasn't really interested in selling any products, which I was always honest about that I was just there for the family aspect of it. Um, I really liked the people and how they seemed like they were caring about me and what my interests were, because I was always honest about what it was that I actually did want to do. and I didn't necessarily have a sense of direction for where I wanted to go with my life. I had some ideas for what I wanted to do with my life, but it certainly wasn't selling somebody else's products. Um, if I was going to have a business, I wanted it to be one of my own, selling my own products, not Amway's products. So,
That's pretty incredible because they kind of roped you in without ever telling you about their mentor, what they were doing. They were just being really nice to you and befriended you before kind of laying it on you. It did not happen that way for me. And I never did that to people because I didn't want to like bait and switch them because you just like them, right? You like their personalities, you like kicking it with them. And it's easier to get somebody, to sponsor if they like you. So once you got in, like, tell us about your experience. How was it?
once I initially got in, I mean, it seemed, I'm gonna be honest with you, I had doubts. I had so many doubts throughout the whole process, but especially at the beginning, because I had one more meeting with before they even told me anything about. So he wanted me to read the book, and then we were going to set up another meeting to see what I thought of the book. And then after that meeting, they asked me to come to an info session. So, I didn't really have no information on any of this. Didn't know anything about it. I just came into an info session. And you know what they talk about in the info session? Money, spending money. So I was like, I ain't got that money. Put that money into starting a business that I don't really know anything about.
Right.
Um, so I kept coming to info sessions. Every time the money thing came up, I was like y'all want me to spend my money? Like I'm not trying to spend my money on this. Like if it's a business that I'm getting started, y'all telling me I gotta spend this money to make money and stuff like that. I just liked the books that they were giving me. I liked the environment. I liked the people, the conversations I was having. But like I said, I never really wanted a business. Um, and before I even came to the info session, I brought somebody else in because to me, this didn't really seem like something that would interest me. But my partner at the time, it seemed like something that would interest him. Um, and he was really kind of looking for a sense of direction. And he always talked about starting a business of his own. So I was like, you're a great person for this kind of opportunity. And I brought him in. Um, and he instantly clicked with the business. But the second that I brought him in, it was kind of like the attention was no longer on me. Um, Ended up just kind of giving all his attention to my partner at the time, um, and kind of just left me in the dust a bit. Um, and then I mentioned my concerns about this, like feeling like they didn't really care about me growing my business at all. Once he became part of it, they would only give him attention. Um, and it just kind of made me uncomfortable. Like I felt like the forgotten child, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And say, well, you're acting like a child if you feel that way because you're not my child and stuff like that. Um, and I would say, no, like I get that, but like you led me to believe that you would be there for me and stuff. And the second that he became part of the process, you only focused on him. Um, and I guess it was more of a segregation thing because the men stayed with the men and the women stayed with the women. But the one woman in our team at the time, she was focused on getting married. She had other commitments. She couldn't give me any attention and help grow my business at all. Um, and the one other person who I could refer to, he only focused on the boys. So I was just kind of stuck in limbo and I kind of got a little bit depressed because my partner was also being very toxic at the time and saying, well, if your upline is not being your upline, then get a new upline, join a new team or something like that. Like you're just basically you're not driven enough to where they would even want to give you attention. So if you're not willing to help yourself, then why is anybody else going to help you? So
So I have a question. That
yeah.
is, first of all, crazy, but backing up a little bit, at what point did they share with you it was actually Amway? And then how did you go through the sponsoring process? I mean, I know you did, but like when did that happen? Was that before you brought in your the guy you were dating at the time or after?
I actually brought the guy in that I was dating when I finished the book.
Um,
So the my upline, and then I met with Noah, and then I met with Noah again, and I had brought my upline in because at that second meeting, I was like, "Oh, this sounds like something that would be more interesting to my partner."
okay.
Um, and so he was like, "Well, why didn't you bring him? Bring him in next time we meet." And I was like, "Okay, that's cool, sure." Um, and I didn't actually sign on until the next year, the beginning of the next year, so March of the next year. And I met them around November, October-ish.
Oh, so you met them in November-ish, October-ish, and then you didn't actually sign up until March of the next year. So you were going to info sessions this whole time and wow, without actually like paying the monthly fee, without actually being officially on.
Yeah,
That's so
obviously access to some of the apps and stuff like that. I was strictly just reading books during this time. Um, and just going to the info sessions.
that's so interesting. I never even thought to do that. So after you said that they spent more time with your partner at the time, that he told you that you weren't being, I guess, ambitious enough for them to even work with you. What happened after that?
Um, I was still kind of just like spiraling a bit on my own, trying to figure things out because it didn't really seem like it was really all that worth it if I wasn't gonna actually get the mentorship that they claimed that I was gonna get, or the friendship, stuff like that. Um, And my upline actually mentioned to me, so like I said, she was getting married at this time. And I was like, oh, am I invited to the wedding? And she's like, not until you join Amway and you actually make your business. Um, and she kind of said it as if it was like a joking sort of matter, but I could tell that she actually meant it. Um, so that was a little shady, but I didn't think um but it was kind of like a on and off sort of relationship. Like if I wasn't actively building my business, then she would pull away. And once I was actively building my business, she would come back and try to act like we were bestest friends and stuff like that.
Girl, that is typical. They call it love bombing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that
Yeah.
is so typical for her to like almost manipulate you into doing what she wants you to do to get her attention and her like affection, you know? That is very shady. And so you notice the flip-flop of her behavior and her kind of character towards you when you would build it versus when you wouldn't build it. So as you progress through the I guess the months and the weeks, what else happened? Like tell us more about how you felt. Tell us more about some things that you saw as red flags.
So outside of the business, I was having some personal things going on. Um, like my partner was very mentally abusive towards me. Um, and when it came to building the business, he would say like, if you're not wearing business clothes, then I like that's the type of woman I want. I want a traditional woman that goes to church with me and only wears business wear. I don't want a girl that's wearing like crop tops and stuff like that. And during this frame, my uplines were like telling me that I need to talk to them about what's going on in my relationship and in my life because they're the people that are going to help. If they don't know what's going on in my personal life, how are they supposed to help? So I communicated with them Um, but because I was having some personal things going on in my life, they didn't really care. And they would pull away even more. So it's kind of like, yeah, they want me to tell them what's going on, but the second I do, they're just going to withdraw from the relationship with me. Um, and I actually opened up to my upline about the fact that my partner was saying that if I didn't wear business wear, that basically he would threaten to break up with me and stuff like that. And she flat out said to me, well, you should be wearing business wear. Nobody really wants you around their husbands if you're wearing the kind of things that you wear, wearing crop tops or jeans with slits in them and stuff like that, the normal stuff that you would wear on a day-to-day basis. Nobody wants you around their husbands because we don't even want to make them think to look at you when they should be focused on their wives or they should be focused on building their businesses. And it kind of got into an argument because what I was hearing in my mind is sort of like the she deserved it if she was wearing something a little bit more revealing.
Right. Mm-hmm. Like all the responsibilities on the woman. So if
And
the
I'm
man
like,
doesn't think anything crazy.
you instead of other women, their eyes should be on you, not those other women. It shouldn't just fall on the woman to be all the time dressed in business wear.
Right.
And brought up the fact that I'm like, well, that's you basically saying that a girl deserves to be essayed if she's wearing revealing clothes. Because not all the time is a girl wearing revealing clothes does she get essayed. So not all the time when somebody could be wearing business wear that she might still get essayed.
Right.
And she literally just got pissed off at me and said, we can continue this conversation another day, but you're pissing me off. And I don't want to talk to you right now.
She said that to you?
Yes. So, and there was a lot more other situations than that. Like I said, my partner at the time was very, very toxic. And they knew everything that was going on within our relationship. They knew that he was mentally abusive and that at one point in time he did hit me. Um,
Gosh.
he still was consistently a part of the business. And I'm like, what's the point of me like telling you all these things that are going on in my personal life if nothing's going to be done about it? Why is he still a part of this business if you say that this business is supposed to be about people bettering themselves? And you know that on the consistent, this is what's going on between us. And then they would try to get us to break up and stuff here and there, even when we were good. And it kind of seemed a little shady because they felt like I was distracting him from his potential. Um, and they would say stuff like that, like not those exact words, but they would say essentially that very thing that I was keeping him from building his business up and doing better and becoming a better person. But there was no focus on me throughout me building up my business. Um, so here and there, I would have meetings after the wedding with my upline, and she would try to be helpful, and she would tell me that I should talk to her about everything that was going on with me, and that if I'm gonna talk to her about what's going on with me, I have to be willing to basically adhere to whatever recommendations she tells me to do with my life. So she felt like I should never talk to my mom again, which was a thing that came up, then I should be doing that. And if I don't do that, then she doesn't want to have conversations with me and she doesn't want to spend any time with me or try to help me through anything. She doesn't want to hear anything that I have to complain about, essentially. Um, And at one point in time, she sent me a voice recording saying that I took her relationship for granted and I didn't appreciate her or her friendship. And I was always constantly complaining about the things that were going on in my life when she asked. It wasn't like I was just complaining just to complain. She would ask me what was going on in my life. And I would tell her, and then she would get mad at me because I'm not willing to take certain advice from her. Like, you're not in my situation, so how can you really say that I should do this because you would do this? Or like a specific situation was I was talking to her after I had broken up with my ex. Um, and I was telling her about how I don't feel comfortable at info sessions because he would just sit there and stare at me, and they could see him staring at me. I'd be in the back of the room, he completely turned his head around to stare at me, and I just didn't feel comfortable. Like, this is somebody that hurt me, and you guys know that he hurt me. And I'm trying to pull out of the relationship, and he's just staring at me at every single info session, every single conference that we went to. He's just staring at me. And I told her, we sat down for a meeting, and I told her that, and I'm like, I don't feel comfortable at all. And she basically brought up her partner who was abusive at one point in time, and said that if he wanted to join the business, then I would want that for him. I would want him to be able to have that family aspect, build that business, and have that environment around him, and not make such a big deal about it. Obviously, I wouldn't want him on my team, but I would want people to welcome him in with open arms. And I'm like, why lying? Why are you lying? Because you know that's not the case. If he was right here in front of our entire team telling you that he wants to be a part of our business, you would let him just join your team? Because this person is on my team. This is somebody that I have to be exposed to at every single info session and conference. So at the end of the day, this is something that is constantly affecting me. I'm trying to heal or I'm trying to pay attention, and I have to worry about this person's eyes on me. And even if I try to ignore it, he's still staring at me. And I can't completely ignore that kind of thing. So,
It's the level of control that she wanted over your life, because for her to almost demand you to tell her about your life, that's none of her business. You know, she doesn't know you. She's not your God. Like, that's an issue that I still have to this day because my uplines never forced me to talk to them about. I got engaged and they didn't even know until I told them, you know what I mean? And so to hear somebody tell you that you need to tell them everything first of all and then take their advice, you know, or their guidance, that's controlling. It's like they want to turn you into who they need you to be, you know, into this perfect little person that's going to build a business. Because truthfully told, like you said, if an abusive ex comes into your business, you're not going to be comfortable with that, you know, especially if he's put his hands on you or verbally abused you, whatever the case may be. You're not going to be comfortable with him being on your team or in the business with you. I feel like she just told you that so that you would try to get over it, and negated the fact that you have real feelings about the fact that he's harassing you, staring at you in info sessions, and nothing was done about that.
mm-hmm,
That's crazy to me.
for sure. And another difficult thing for me throughout it was like the financial aspect of it. Because to start the business, I have to put the money into this business for products that, maybe I will use on a daily. But at the end of the day, this $35, $45 laundry detergent, yes, I can get that for $15, $7 at Walmart. And because that is what is financially better for me. Maybe it might be some better products, but at the end of the day, I don't think that it caters to every type of people. And I'm putting what, $250 into starting this business. And then I have to buy my own products to sell in this business. Um, and it doesn't really cater to the everyday people. So I'm trying to sell to the people in my circle or the people surrounding me, and they can't afford to just spend $45 on one bottle of laundry detergent. So that made it super difficult. Like I can reach out to XO people, but at the end of the day, it's not something that's really affordable to them anyways. Um, and then I had to pay for gas to get to info sessions. I also had to pay for gas to get to conferences, driving 7, 8 hours away. And then I had to pay for the hotel and I had to pay for my ticket to those conferences. So that's $300, $400 out of pocket just on that alone. And I have my own other bills that I have to pay. And they'll tell you that, you have a morning job that you're working set amount of hours, and that's to pay your bills. And then you have your business separately, and that may give you some sort of income coming in. But I remember one day we were going to conference and they told me I needed this certain amount of money for our hotel room, which ended up changing. And we didn't know that the amount of money that we needed for it had changed until we got in the car. So it went from 60 to almost $100 per person for the hotel room on that day. And then we had to pay for gas, which that amount wasn't brought to our attention beforehand either. Um, so it totaled to be like around $150 that we had to pay for that trip, not including the ticket that we had to pay to get there. So
Mm-hmm.
on the day that nobody communicated to me how much I needed, I didn't have the money. And we're sitting in the car, uh, and our upline just says we're not leaving until everybody pays. And I jokingly but seriously said, can we set up a payment plan? I meant that. But he kind of ignored me or brushed it off at the time and was just telling the other cars and stuff, we're not leaving until everybody pays. And so everybody else starts paying. And I'm assuming that he heard me at this point in time because I'm sitting directly behind him and I say it in his ear. Um, and everybody else pays and he turns to me and he's like, DeJira, we're not leaving until you pay. So all eyes are on me at this point in time. And I'm just kind of thinking, like, what? Are you just going to leave me here after I paid for my ticket and I paid for part of the hotel room? You just going to leave me here? Um, but I'm like, yeah, I don't have the money for that right now. And he's like, well, how much money do you have? Because you need to pay the whole thing before we leave. And I'm like, well, I have $60 right now because that's what you told me it was the price of the hotel room. Like, I have other bills that I have to pay for. And he says we need the full amount before we leave. And luckily, one of my team members was like, I'll just pay the rest of it and you can just pay me in the future. So he paid the rest of it and we got going, but that was kind of like, now I got to ride in the car with this man who knew that I didn't have the money, but made such a big deal about it right then and there.
So they did not tell you about the price increase and then put you on the spot to pay it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's not, that is such poor leadership to me.
Mm-hmm.
What was the point?
Not a clue.
Wow.
Single like specific people on many, many occasions. Like I remember we were having a team meeting of our own, or like me and my upline were together, and she would make kind of side-eyed comments at other people on our team while they weren't around and stuff like that. I would say, oh, well, she doesn't have a car. I thought she didn't have a car and now she's driving here on her own. Um, just little comments about people here and there. And I'd be like, well, what are they saying about me when I'm not around? If you will say this about somebody else to me. And it was a lot. And then like these tickets being almost $200 for conferences and stuff like that. Like
And were
if
you doing it when it was virtual, or did you go in person when you were doing the conferences?
I went in person at the first conference that I was supposed to go to. My sister had gotten into a car accident, so I couldn't go. I also just didn't have the money as well. So the day that we were supposed to go to conference, my sister was in a car accident.
I'm sorry about
Minutes before we were supposed to leave, like we were supposed to meet up. Um, and I dropped off my boyfriend at the time. I'm like, I need to go with my sister. Like, we literally drove up to the ambulance together. I asked him to drive my car home and then asked somebody to come and pick him up because I can't leave my little sister like this and go to a conference.
that.
Um, and during this time, it was just like back to back things going wrong in my life, and my siblings kept getting hurt. I had three siblings get hurt back to back. And then my finances were just a really, really big struggle for me at this point in time because this was my first time being out in the world on my own without living with my mom and having to pay all these finances and stuff. So I was also honest with them about what my finances were, and they were telling me, oh, well, you need to be spending this set amount on your business each month, each paycheck, and then be putting the rest of your money towards your needs, like your bills and stuff like that, and just be keeping this little bit amount to yourself. Um, or put it into your savings. You shouldn't really be keeping anything to yourself. You should be living below your means and whatnot. And though I may think that there was some valid points to that, like obviously I can't be putting money into this business if I need more money into my bills. If my car note is almost $500 a month and my rent is twice that, it's a little bit difficult for me to find the leeway to put into this business.
Right.
My bills were above my means.
Of
So
course. Yeah.
it was just difficult for me. And I was always honest with them about that, but they did not care. Um, and then they expected you to put this money into info sessions every month that we would go out to Iowa or into the conferences that would cost a whole lot of money. And then it was also like the timing thing. Like, if you got to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, they don't care if we're stuck at an info session till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning
I,
because more important than you getting your sleep and stuff like that so that you could work the next day. Like that was not a priority for them. They didn't care at all.
I used to hate that. I thought it was just so disrespectful of them to misuse our time because you felt like talking on a mic. Like it's about to be midnight and I have to be up at 4 in the morning. Ooh, I feel you on that because I think about it makes me mad because it's just so disrespectful.
Mm-hmm. And then when I was changing jobs and stuff like that, they were telling me which shift I should be working because I should be doing the 9 to 5 and then be hitting the market right after that to try to meet new clients or bring on new people, more prospects and whatnot. Like, I'm gonna take whatever job's available to me, whatever I can get in this economy, okay?
Mm.
Because the living is so, so expensive. And it's like they didn't really understand the hardships that we were going through, as if they haven't gone through it at some point in time.
That's a good point. Mm-hmm.
And so, like, yeah, you're married, you got a second partner, you got more income coming in, so you don't understand what it is for me right now going through this stuff. And you're not the same person as me. You're not dealing with the same mental illnesses as I am. You're not dealing with the same stresses as I am because you're not in my shoes. And that was something that I was kind of trying to get across that they just didn't understand. And it was really, really hard for me because I just wanted somebody to understand what it was that I was going through. I wasn't looking for them to pity me, which they kept saying that I was looking for them to just pity me. I didn't want you to pity me. I just wanted you to understand the situation that I was in so that you can give me some leeway because real life things are going to happen. throughout trying to build a business. And I just didn't feel like they understood that at all. Um, so it was really hard for me just not being understood and like not having my situations be understood. Like I was going through a whole lot of things. But apparently, mental illnesses are not a priority within building a business. They just want soldiers. And it's funny because they said that they didn't just want to push out workers the way that, jobs do, but essentially that's what they're doing. And one thing that kind of really peed me off was the way that everything would reset each month. So my first month in business, I did hit the 3% mark and I almost hit the 6% mark. But then it reset after that's over. And I was like, wait a minute. So I made this amount of money and I only got this amount of money. Y'all ain't explaining this to me. It's not adding up.
Yeah.
Okay. And now it resets. So I ain't even at the 3% or the 6%. It's just back down to zero. And I gotta make said amount of money again.
Yep. The math ain't mathing. That's just the facts.
It definitely wasn't. And I was not feeling that at all. Because even when they tried to explain it to me, it was kind of like they were just trying to hide stuff from me, or they were just trying to say whatever it is that they thought I needed to hear, or they just wanted to tell me. And I don't like secrets. So every little shady thing that was going out there, everything that wasn't adding up, I was just like, maybe this business ain't for me. I remember when I went to a conference, I found out that one of my aunties had passed away. Um, so this was on Sunday morning. I had just found this out.
Mm.
And I was super, super emotional. Um, and the whole time that I was there, I was just feeling like maybe this just isn't for me. And this is before even me finding out that my auntie had passed away. So I had asked, instead of going to the Sunday service, could I just have some me time in the hotel room? Because like this was moments after I had just found out that she passed away. So I was talking to my upline. I'm like, look, I just found this out. Can I just have some time alone and here by myself? And then after the service, I'll come back down. And she was just basically like, this is just the devil trying to keep you down and you should be there. This is all the more reason for you to be there. And she pulls me out of the room and we're just talking in a hallway, just the two of us. And I'm like, look, I just want to know, like, if I decide that this business isn't for me, are you still going to be a part of my life? And I'm like crying at this point in time. And she just thinks to tell me what I want to hear or whatever it's going to take to keep me in the business. So she says, of course, I'm still going to be a part of your life. I would like you to stay in the business, but you're my friend at the end of the day, and I'm going to be there for you through
Okay.
whatever through. I hope that we can be friends for the rest of our lives, that you'll always be a part of my life. And I'm like, okay, thank you. I give her a hug and whatever the case may be. And we came across the same topic in the future. So I asked her again, and clearly she didn't remember what she had said previous to that because she's like, no, I'm not going to give you any attention. I'm only here for people that are trying to build this business. I'm only here for leaders. And if you're not going to build a business, then I'm not going to make time for you anymore. I'm going to give that time to other people who are invested in building this business. I'm going to give that time to my kids because you've taken time away from me and my kids. And she just was just snapping at me, telling me how tired she was of me constantly complaining. But it wasn't like I was complaining just to complain. Like she asked me about what I was going through many, many occasions. So you're asking me to open up, and I open up, and then you just use it against me in the future. Um, So yeah, she was just like, I'm not gonna give you my time if you're not gonna build this business. And this is just the second time that I asked her that same question. I asked her one more time towards the end, and she was the same way as the second time. Like, no, I'm not going to give attention to somebody who's not trying to build this business. Like, I'm trying to go platinum. I'm trying to make Noah go platinum. I'm trying to actually accomplish things for me, my children, my husband, for Noah. Like, we're trying to do things, we're trying to make money. And if you're not willing to do that, then I'm not going to give you any attention. I'm not going to try to keep this friendship or anything like that. And later, I ended up pulling out because it was just like they became different people when it came to, personal lives and other things that you might have going on. Um, like I had found out that I had a brain tumor and I would need surgery to get that removed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And they kept telling me that if you think you have a tumor, then you're going to have a tumor. Don't think about it that way. Don't think negatively. Um, don't worry about that thing. Like you're worrying
Wait,
about things out of your control.
wait. So like you have a tumor that your doctor confirmed that you had,
Yes.
and they're telling you not to think about it, and it'll go away.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Um, so this is something that I'm actively worried about because like it's a tumor. I have to have surgery. I'm worried about my hair getting shaved off. And um Uh, and I was like on a few different occasions talking to them about that, and they just kind of kept saying the same thing. And they had me listen to an audiobook about worrying about things that are outside of your control, and basically just telling me to ignore it and just focus on building the business. But how am I to ignore a whole brain tumor? Like this is something that will affect me in the future. If I don't get it removed, then it could lead to me having osteoporosis and all types of other issues.
Mhm.
um, and it was just kind of like, really, like you don't care about something that will actually impact my life?
Wow.
Like medical issues is not a big deal for you? And so it was that, it was the financial aspect of it. Like there was many things that contributed to me deciding that this just wasn't for me. Um, as well as my ex and the way that they handled that situation. Um, so I just kind of pulled back and I didn't just decide that I was done at that point in time. Like I was still like, maybe this is something I could potentially do in the future, even though they were as toxic as they were. Um, and then I had spoke to my upline at the time, um, and we just kind of completely fell apart. Like I was trying to come to her about something that had nothing to do with the business, and she just flipped out. So she had some pictures of mine. I model outside of that.
Okay.
Um, and she was a photographer, so we did a shoot together. And she never sent me my pictures. So this is months later now. This was like 2 or 3 months ago, like maybe a month ago that I reached out to her and I was like, oh yeah, I understand that you're busy with your business. Like I was trying to be empathetic towards her, compassionate towards her situation. And I was like, can you just send me the pictures? It's okay with me if they're not edited. Like I wasn't being disrespectful or anything in any kind of way. Because I still kind of saw her as a friend.
Hmm.
Um, and she said that she lost them. And I'm like, well, like, is your tablet lost, or is it lost like you'll find it again soon? And she said that somebody had stolen it. Um, and I was like, oh, well, do you have them like backed up on a computer or something like that? That way you can like email them to me or something. And she just went off on me. And she sent all of this in a voice message. And I'm I'm shocked. Like, I'm so confused because I wasn't being disrespectful in any kind of way. And she was saying that I was such a bad friend to her throughout me being in the business, and I never really cared about her. And I'm only focused on these pictures and stuff. And literally was just going off and going off and going off about how I'm such a bad friend and how she's not even going to attempt to try to keep this relationship that she's just done with me.
So she offered to do pictures for you, won't
Mm-hmm.
won't give them to you. When you ask about it, she gives you this response.
Yes. And then somebody else had actually sent me a picture of her daughter on that tablet. She went over, one of the team members. She's like, "Isn't this the tablet that she said that she lost?" And it's her on the tablet. So the only reason why she didn't send them to me is because she didn't want me to have them. And she's just using them against me. So at that point, I was like, you know what? This is fine. I'm done. I don't have to be in that environment anymore. I don't have to be with those toxic people anymore. And weirdly enough, once I got outside of that environment, things started to look better for me.
Okay.
They got so much better. Like, I had all this extra time to actually focus on me and what I wanted for my life instead of what somebody else wanted for my life. So I'm doing.
Wow.
Oh,
Good deal. So how did you feel when you actually left? How was when did you decide to leave?
um, it wasn't like an abrupt type of thing. It was more so just slowly pulling out of it. I knew after a while that it wasn't for me. Like, I knew at the beginning that it wasn't for me, but because of the relationships that I had with people, I just didn't pull out right away. Um, so it was more so me just deciding to focus my energy on the other things that were going on in my life because I wanted those to get better. So I just deterred my attention from this area into my actual life and what I wanted, you know? Um, so I actually sent out a message a few weeks or maybe a few months before I had talked to her again about the pictures. And I was like, I don't think that this business is for me anymore. I really appreciate everything that you have done for me and that the team has done for me. I appreciate the knowledge that you have given me. I still will end up using a lot of this knowledge in my everyday life, but I want to focus on things that I want to accomplish within my life. I want to focus on continuing to work towards my medical degree and my modeling because those were things that were important to me and what I have actually wanted to do with my life instead of selling products. Um, so that is what I did. And um, at that point in time, she was really nice about it. Like, she didn't bite my head off at all. Um, she was like, "Okay, I understand. Hopefully in the future you could come back. I'll always be willing to accept you back onto this team." Um, and I'm assuming she said something to our upline later, her sponsor. But I still wanted to be a customer at this point in time because I like the focus packs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I reached out every once in a while and I was trying to get focus packs from her. She ended up going home instead of bringing them to me because I didn't want to go through the online registering process and all of that. I was just going to buy from them directly so it could help their business.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, she didn't show up when I was trying to get the product, and then she messaged me later and was like, "Oh, do you still want to get the products?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." And she brought me a few for free, um, because they were at the end of their box anyways. And I was very appreciative of that. And I still wanted to buy more in the future. And I had reached out to her and I was like, "Yeah, how much is it for the box? I want to get a box." She she didn't respond, I think, or something like that. And so I reached out to her sponsor and I was like, because he's closer to me. I reached out to him. I'm like, yeah, is it okay if I get some focus facts from you instead since she hasn't reached out? He went to her instead of responding to me. So she messaged me and she's like, oh, it hurt my feelings that you would go around me to somebody else, but he lives 5 minutes from me.
She didn't respond. So what were you
Yeah.
supposed to do?
So at the end of the day, this person that lives 5 minutes away from me is a lot quicker and easier than me going all the way to you or you coming 30 minutes to me. Um, and this was like on the day that I needed it. Like I was going to Chicago. So
Mm.
I needed it right then and there. And he never, still has not responded to me in response to that message to this day. She just came and messaged me. And I messaged him. I'm like, why you go to her? Like now she upset about this and you didn't started some stuff between me and her. And so then I had to explain to her, like, you didn't respond and he was 5 minutes away. So I figured that would be okay for me to go to him.
Oh.
Um, So yeah, that was the situation with that. And then we hadn't talked for a while, me and her, and I had asked about the pictures, and that's when we went into that whole thing, and I completely fell off with her. Um, but I still have like certain team members that I am willing to go through in support of their business, also in support of me getting some supplies because packs, them focus packs did some things. Um,
No.
So yeah, that's kind of how it went with that.
Unnecessary drama. So how do you said that now that you're out, things have been getting so much better for you. You have more time on your hands, more money. What advice do you have to give to someone who's in and they feel like they're gonna go diamond? They don't care what we're talking about, they're going diamond. What advice do you have for them? And also, what advice do you have for folks who are in and they want to leave, but they don't know how?
So for the people that are still just gonna dive in regardless, I guess just stay true to who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. Don't just go off of doing things because of what somebody else wants you to do. You know, if this is the business that you want to go with, or if you're just trying to build a business of your own, for sure, if you're trying to build a business of your own, then I would say go with a different avenue for that because this isn't the place for building your own products. It's just going to be selling products of somebody else's. Yeah, it's your own business and you can go about it with like, you know, changing prices once you got all your stuff, or, you know, like maybe setting up a stand or something to get more people to sign on. But at the end of the day, you're still selling somebody else's products and it's not really a business of your own. And for people that are trying to pull out, I guess you really just kind of do it. I mean, I feel like tearing off a band-aid because you're pulling away from people that may be toxic. Um, I guess try to keep as many relationships as you can, but it's gonna be a little bit hard regardless because these are people that you built a relationship up with. So losing that relationship on some instances is gonna hurt. It's taking away friendships and people that you might consider family.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. And thank you so much for sharing that with us and your experience and all the unnecessary drama that you had to go through, and now you're drama free, which is always a way to live life. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jira. It was a pleasure talking to you and hearing more about your story. Anything else you want to share with the viewers?
Good luck.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that interview. If you want to reach out to me, you can do that. I have my email listed in the description box as well. Again, thanks to everybody who has watched the videos, emailed me, reached out to me, wanting to share their story on this channel. I think it's great that we all want to share our truth and get our stories out there. So if you want to do that, feel free to do that. I'd be happy to speak with you. Again, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.